What if I told you that studying for the PE exam, going through problems, setting up strict study times wasn't the only aspect of passing? Another aspect is connecting with people out in the community, in external technical groups and professional associations, and they can help you as well. Well, in today's episode of Pass the PE Exam, I have with me Melvin Moncey Joseph, a licensed PE, and a staff electrical engineer at Burns McDonnell. And Melvin's going to talk about how his interaction with the community, professional organizations, technical working groups has helped him not only advance his engineering career, but also pass the PE exam. Before we get started, here's a quick word from our sponsor for this episode, Burns McDonnell. Career Burns McDonnell goes beyond delivering projects. It's about owning outcomes, finding your best fit and making it different. Right now, Brian McDonnell is hiring engineers, architects, construction professionals, technologists, scientists, and consultants to design, build, and deliver environmentally conscious and socially responsible projects. Explore opportunities across a family of companies by visiting Burns and ACOM/careers first. Burns and McDonnell is an equal opportunity employer. All right, now I'd like to welcome our guest onto the show for today. Melvin Moncey Joseph is a licensed professional engineer and staff electrical engineer at Burns McDonnell. Melvin, welcome to Pass the PE Exam.
Yeah, nice. I'm happy to be here. Talk a lot more about the PE exam. Yeah.
For sure. So, Melvin, maybe you can start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and your experience, your career experience, some of the things you've done with technical working groups, professional associations. Just take us through your career a little bit so people know what you do.
Yeah, so I can say I started off in electrical engineering in the power industry because of my parents and my uncle. They are all in the field. Got interested in it at an early age. Did my bachelor's in it and then my master's in the US here. Started working at another firm. Did a lot of work with them as in different fields. So protective relay settings, your protection and your physical design, then did a bit of GIS on substations and other things as well, and also went into a bit of system planning and all of those type of studies as well. So that's how I got into that. That's my progression of my career, and then I joined Burns and McDonnell. So with the IEEE, I started early on in my career in undergrad. Then in grad school, I did I didn't do a lot of it, but then in my previous company, I was given the opportunity to go for some of the technical working groups. Then over the years with that, I slowly started getting more and more involved, becoming a chair of one of the IEEE standards as revisions, and also helping out a lot of young professionals as well coming through the technical committees. And then I started also attending more of the chapter activities as well, and I'll be helping out with the chapter a lot more in the Austin area. And that's my biggest that's how I grew up in the technical committee.
That's great. Yeah, and I'm happy to have you on the show as an electrical engineer. I think it's good for us to showcase engineers in different disciplines because personally, I think that every engineer should get their license. But I know sometimes people might say certain engineers, you might not need it if you're doing a certain kind of project or if you're doing electrical. I know for me, I'm a civil, but people would say, if you go into construction, you don't have to get it. So I just think it's important for everybody. And we're happy to have you on as an electrical engineer. And, I kind of want to jump in a little bit and talk about the PE exam here. And Melvin, for engineers that are currently preparing for their PE exam, how can involvement in some of these professional groups provide them with study resources or support for the exam?
I think the biggest benefit of going for a lot of these being a part of technical organizations is the mentorship you get. That's a very important thing for your PE exam. So when I was studying for my PE exam a year and a half ago or before that, I reached out to a lot of mentors that I met through these professional committees, and they really helped me told me the right resources that I need to use and all of those type of things as well. And another thing is some of the chapters in the IEEE or even the young professionals, they have groups and everything where you collaborate and you study together, and also some of the chapters have materials also built up over time so that you can use some of that when you're studying as well. And obviously, I think the three things is obviously your resources, and then what a mentor, people who have written the exam before tell about how the exam is. So both of those things you can really get through these involvement in these technical organizations. And professional company.
Yeah, I think that's great because I do think that, a lot of engineers will make the choice when they're preparing for the exam. Do I want to take a review course? Do I want to study on my own? There are a lot of different ways you can go, but I think regardless of what you choose, the idea of getting involved with groups where you can talk to other people that have gone through the PE exam experience is going to be invaluable to you. They're going to tell you tips for the exam day, study tips, where they got their problems, etc. I also think that even the process of applying for the PE exam can be very challenging and very difficult, and of course is very state dependent. So if you're able to talk to a couple of people that recently got approved to sit for the exam, they may also be able to give you some tips in terms of how to prepare the application specifically. And so, Melvin, are there any specific skills or knowledge that you've kind of gained through your participation in some of these technical working groups that you can share?
I think the most important thing is in the electrical exam, for example, as in the PE exam for electrical engineers, there's an entire, especially on the power side of things, there's an entire section for protection. As in, like, because I was involved in a lot of these committees and a lot of these technical, as in like organizations, especially in the IEEE, you learn a lot more, and as in like you're actually doing, as in like some of the, as in like, so we work with the NEC standards, the different standards that you need to reference, as in like you need to go through when you're writing the exam. It becomes easier when you actually work on some of these things and actually draft some of these things, right? So that's what's really helped figure, as in like understand as in like a good way to write the exam. Yeah, that's the main thing I would say that I gained out of all of this.
That's great. Yeah, really getting exposure to the different guidelines and specifications that you're using on real projects to be able to apply them for the exam. And that's really the difference between the FE and PE exam. If someone were to take the FE exam right out of school, you haven't really had that project experience yet. Whereas when you're taking the PE exam, most likely you've had some experience now. And if you're in some of these technical working groups, you can get a real insight to some of the projects and the guidelines that are used. And really, I think the whole theme of this episode is important. And it's one that we don't focus on all that much, which is, yes, you're going to have review courses and study books and problems and all that stuff. But the information that you can gain from other working professionals, other licensed PEs, other people that took the exam and maybe they didn't pass it, can still give you really good advice to help you on your journey. And so when you think of your preparation for the PE exam, you can think of the very standard preparation, the books, the courses, your study habits. But we also want you to think about the other things like other people, other information sources that you can gather information from to help you be successful for the exam. Because I know for me in my process, that was really, really helpful. So the other thing I want to ask you about, which I'm sure a lot of our listeners right now are thinking about, is, how do you have time to be able to manage your professional commitments, get involved in these groups? There's a lot that people have going on these days. How do you juggle that?
So to be honest, I would say working for a company like Burns McDonnell, I think they're very supportive of you being involved in a lot of these activities. So that's where, as in like, I'm getting a lot of support in that case. I'm able to do some of these things during my work hours as well. As in, that's one of the key things, and showing how this brings benefit, as in like whatever I'm doing brings benefit back to the company as well, is very important. And then obviously, as in like, you can't do everything in your work hours, otherwise you're going to just doing, as in like, you will probably be doing, as in like, so I'm in the consulting industry, right? So I'll probably be not charging hours back to my clients or anything like that. I'll probably be just doing IEEE work or something else. So it's always a good balance to have some of it, as in like, you can talk to your managers and something like that, and probably have some of those hours done in your work schedule, but as in like some of it obviously outside of your hours. And it's all about managing. It's also important that we understand what roles we are taking and what assignments we are taking, as in like seeing if you are actually free or not before taking some of these assignments, because if you start doing things, usually you start getting even more and more work over time. So it's very important to understand when to say no as well. So that's something that I've learned. I've been burnt out in the past, and I really don't want to go into that phase of as in like that phase anymore. So I've started saying no to things as well, or even delegating things as well to others, or even getting other people from my company involved in some of these activities as well.
That's great. And I think that, something that you said there that's kind of really important to think about is the company that you work for. And that's a consideration when you're considering what company that you want to join, is how much do they support you in, number one, getting your license, And number two, in getting involved in community groups and activities and, building your network in the community, because I do think that that's a really big career success driver for engineering professionals. And I think if your company is behind you, it's good for all parties, because number one, you as the engineer is really going to appreciate that from your company. And from the company's perspective, if you're listening and you're a leader in a company, you're going to drive the culture in a way that people are going to want to stay there long term, and they're going to want to work there because you're giving them some of the leeway to get outside of the office, get involved with some groups, which is going to really grow that person. So I think beyond the idea of the benefits that go into the PE exam and getting your license, which are there, I think there's also general long-term career benefits, and there are benefits to an organization for allowing people to get involved in the community and really promoting it, not allowing it, promoting it and supporting it. And I think that's key. Melvin, any last piece of advice that you can share to aspiring engineers who are kind of looking to get involved in the community and also get their PE license, just from your experience?
I think getting involved in the community, I think the one important thing I always tell young professionals or new people that come into the industry is don't, keep yourself engaged as much as you can. Keep going. Take risks. Take roles that don't, that you feel uncomfortable in. Because I took up some of these, for example, I'm chairing one of the working group, the IEEE. That was something that, the standard itself is something that I've read only a couple of times before I even took the chair role up. But I was given that opportunity. I have a really good vice chair and a secretary who's helping me out. And my vice chair is very experienced, and he is basically driving a lot of those things as well, and helping me on the technical side. So you can always, you should always take a leap of faith, and sometimes you might land on the right foot. And I feel in this case, I've had a lot of people who supported me. Seek out mentorship. That's another thing that I would really like to emphasize on. My mentor, he's one of the best mentors that you can find in the electrical engineering industry, and I can probably talk about him. His name is John McDonnell from he's a great person. You can anyone can reach out to him, and he would love to mentor people. There are others as well, and seeking out those mentors who can really help you in your career is very important. I feel. And that also goes with your PE exam as well. I had a set of mentors who really told me what I should be doing and what I should not be doing, what books I need to use, what books I should not be using, and all of those type of things as well. And yeah, that's the main thing I would tell any young engineer or any new person coming into this.
That's great. All right. So just a quick recap, a couple things we learned here in talking with Melvin is there's definitely a kind of left brain approach to studying for the PE, where you're getting into a review course, you're getting the right book, you're doing the right problems, you're spending the right amount of hours. But there's also kind of a right brain side to it, which is getting out there in the community, getting involved with technical working groups so you can meet other people that can give you some guidance, mentorship, advice on passing the PE exam, but also just general career advice. And so hopefully a lot of the stuff that we do on this channel is around the problems and all that stuff, but there's also another side of it, which is your network that can really help you to succeed. So Melvin, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to come and join us on Pass the PE exam.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm excited, and hopefully this has an impact on a lot of engineers coming in as well and studying for the PE exam. Yeah.
I hope you found this episode helpful. It was great to hear how Melvin has really been able to leverage external groups outside of his organization to help him be a more well-rounded engineering professional and also pass the PE exam. If you liked this video, please subscribe to our channel here. We do put out videos like this on a weekly basis to help engineering professionals pass the PE exam. And if you have a comment or a question, you can leave them below this video and I will read and respond to them in future videos. Maybe there's a specific topic you'd like to cover or a question that you need answered. Pass the PE exam will have you covered. I'll see you next week on Pass the PE exam.